Good morning students. Today we'll proceed with the other evaluation test for hard gelatin capsules. So yesterday we had discussed about weight variation. I hope you all understood that test. So now we'll proceed with the content uniformity and in vitro testing. So content uniformity. So it's nothing but you are measuring the net content, that is nothing but your API, active pharmaceutical ingredient. How much is the content? It varies. How it varies from capsule to capsule, so that you will evaluate. So how you will do is, in this first 30 capsules you will select, out of which you will take 10 only and you will assay them. So the 10 are assayed by a specified procedure. So what is the test requirement? The requirements are met if 9 out of 10 capsules are within the specified potency range of 85 to 115%. 85% means, suppose their active ingredient, it is written on the capsule, it is 300 mg. Okay, so 10% will be 30 mg. So 15% will be 45 mg. So 85% means 15%, you deduct 15%. So it will be 255 mg, right? 255 mg, and if you add 15% it becomes 345 mg. So it should be within the specified range of, that means if in the label it has written that it contains a 300 mg of active ingredient, whenever you are doing the assay procedure, whatever you are getting the result, it should be within the range of 255 mg to 345 mg, and 10th is not outside 75% to 125%. 75% is a huge difference. 75% means you have to deduct 25% from 300 mg. So if you deduct to 25%, how much will become? 30 plus 30, 75 mg. So that means 225 mg. If it contains less than 225 mg, then it is not acceptable, right? So the 10th, it should not be outside 75% to 125%. Obviously, when you are specifying that it contains 300 mg of active ingredient, how can it contain less than 225 or more than 375 mg? So if you add 75 to 300, 125%, it becomes 375 mg. So it should not be outside 225 to 375 mg. So that is your first requirement. So if this is passed, then the capsules are said to pass the test. But if this is not passed, or if you can say if more than 1 but less than 3 of the first 10 capsules, that means you have taken first 10 capsules, right? If more than 1 means, suppose 2 capsules, you can say 2 capsules are falling outside the 85 to 115% range, then the remaining 20 are assayed. Okay, so remaining, first you have selected 30, out of them you have assayed only 10. So if the first criteria fails, then you have to proceed by taking another 20. So now you are having total 30. Okay, so now you are doing assay for total 30 tablets. So the requirements will be met if all the 30 capsules are within the 75 to 125% of the specified potency range. So the requirements will be met if all the 30 capsules are within the 75 to 125% of the specified potency range and not less than 27. That means out of 30 capsules, at least 27 should be within 85 to 115% range. At least 27 capsules out of 30, they should be within the range of 85% to 115%. Okay, this is with your content uniformity test. Okay, and you should also give the test should be based on adequate, whatever the generalization you are doing about stability test programs, that also that should be based on adequate statistical design, and those stability tests should include evaluation of not only an active ingredient stability but also the visual and mechanical aspects of the finished dosage form. So that means you are doing the stability test for an active ingredient. If you want to do stability test for your active ingredient, okay, it should be based on a proper statistical design, and not only that, but also your whole capsule, whole finished dosage form should be visually and mechanically visualized. And you can also, this stability test will also include your extended storage at various elevated temperatures with different humidity levels. So you should also do the test by storing them at various elevated temperature with different humidity levels. So your test should include the filled capsules both by themselves, that means filled capsules alone, and filled capsules with your packing material. So you will pack the capsules in a strip or in a amber colored bottle. So whenever you are doing the stability studies, you should do for intact filled capsules and also by keeping the capsules in place of your packaging material. Okay, so this is with a content uniformity. Do refer Latchman, and if you have any doubt you can ask me anytime. So now we'll discuss your in vitro testing. In vitro testing means what? A dissolution and disintegration. So this pharmacopoeias, they require that the hard capsules, your hard capsules, they should be tested in the same apparatus as the tablets. So like the USP dissolution apparatus, USP disintegration apparatus, the same should be used for your hard gelatin capsules, even though they have very different physical properties. Okay, even though your tablets and capsules have different physical properties, you should perform the test in the same. Okay, sometimes the filled capsules will contain entrapped air. So while you are doing disintegration test, you should ensure that the formulation will float on the water. Okay, to ensure that the float on water, you can also add a disc. Filled capsules, because of the entrapped air, they'll float on water. So to ensure that they do not float and they sink at the bottom, you have to add disc. Okay, and the way in which your capsules disintegrate and dissolve is dependent. Okay, the way in which capsules disintegrate and dissolve, it is dependent on factors such as your temperature and your nature of the test media. And the literature, it also shows that the rate controlling step is the nature of the contents and not the shell. So shell is not playing any role in the disintegration, but your nature of the contents is playing a role in your disintegration. Okay. So this was the only one which is given in your textbook. I want to add some more to this, so you can write a method which is specified in your British Pharmacopoeia. Okay, so you can note down, according to BP, the test of disintegration for hard gelatin and soft capsules is like, I'll show you, you can write it. Okay, so this is not given in your textbook. So for your understanding, I am just telling you, according to BP, that disintegration test for hard gelatin capsules and soft gelatin capsules is same, and it has the steps like following. Write down. First, you have to introduce one capsule in each tube and suspend. You will have 6 tubes, so you have to introduce each capsule. Introduce the one capsule in each tube. Okay, introduce, you have 6 tubes, right? So you have to introduce 6 capsules. Introduce one capsule in each tube and suspend the apparatus in a beaker containing 60 ml of water. So you have to suspend this in a beaker. Suspend the disintegration apparatus in a beaker which is containing 60 ml of water at 37 degrees centigrade. Okay, this is your first step. Then if this I have already told you, if hard capsules float on the surface of water, you need to add the disc. Okay, then your second step, operate the apparatus for 30 minutes. Operate the apparatus for 30 minutes. Remove the assembly from the liquid. After 30 minutes, you have to remove the complete assembly from the liquid. Remove the assembly from the liquid after 30 minutes. Okay, so what are your results? The capsules pass the test. The capsules are said to pass the test. Number 1, if no residue remains on the screens of apparatus, that means no residue should remain. The capsules are said to pass the test if no residue remains on the screen of the apparatus. Number 2, if the residue remains, okay, if the residue remains, it consists of the fragments of shell. Even if some residue remains, it should consist of the shell fragments. It should consist of your shell fragments. Number 3rd requirement, if it is a soft mass with no palpable core. If it's a soft mass with no palpable core. So that means you are getting no core, but just there is a soft mass, then the capsule is said to pass the disintegration test. Okay, so this is the disintegration test which is specified in a British Pharmacopoeia. Introduce one capsule in each tube and suspend in a beaker containing 60 ml of water at 37 degrees centigrade. Operate the apparatus for 30 minutes, then remove the assembly from the liquid. The capsules are said to pass the test if no residue remains on the screen of the apparatus. If the residue remains, it consists of shell fragments, or if it's a soft mass with no palpable core. Okay, so this is with a disintegration test for a hard gelatin capsule. So now we have to discuss about your dissolution test. Okay, so coming to dissolution test, when capsules are placed in an aqueous solution at body temperature, that is a 37 degrees centigrade, the capsule shell will absorb water and swell. So this is the basic mechanism through which dissolution occurs. Through absorption of water, they will absorb water and then they swell. Then the contents will come out. So that is a dissolution mechanism. So the same thing happens, and the rate of penetration of water is inversely proportional to the thickness of the wall. So this we already know. If the thickness of the cell is large, then the water penetration will be very slow. Okay, this is inversely proportional. But if the thickness of the capsule shell is very thin, you can say, or if it is very small, thickness will be thin. If it is very thin, then the water penetration will be fast, obviously, right? If it is thick, means water cannot penetrate. So that is why there is an inverse relation between the thickness and the rate of penetration. So your rate of penetration will be inversely proportional to the thickness of the wall. In gelatin capsules, the water droplets can be observed on the inside surface of the shell after 30 to 40 seconds. So after 30 to 40 seconds, when they are kept in water, there will be water droplets you can see on the inside surface of the capsule shell. Okay, and the shell, whenever it will rupture, first it will rupture at the shoulders of the cap and body, which is the thinnest part. So obviously the thinnest part will absorb more and it will swell first. So the shell ruptures first at the shoulders of the cap and body, which is your thinnest part. And the rate of gelatin solubility, it is dependent upon temperature of the solution. Okay, so what the temperature, it decides the solubility. When the temperature decreases, the solubility decreases. So same thing here. There is a significant decrease as the temperature falls below 30 degrees centigrade. And below 26 degrees centigrade, gelatin is completely insoluble and it does not swell at all. Okay, so the temperature, the gelatin solubility is temperature dependent. So I have told you at body temperature it will swell, but if the temperature is below 30 degrees and below 26 degrees centigrade, gelatin will be completely insoluble and it will very less, it can swell. So that is merely swell and distort. So whatever the apparatus we are using is a rotating paddle. This is a USP type 2 apparatus. So the rotating paddle method is a prescribed apparatus for measuring the dissolution rate in hard gelatin capsule. So you are using the USP type 2 paddle apparatus for testing the dissolution of capsules. Okay, so this is with the, and some few requirements he has given for accelerated storage conditions, like when gelatin capsules are stored under ICH is International Conference of Harmonization. So there are few guidelines of that. So when gelatin capsules are stored under ICH accelerated storage conditions, that is you store the capsules at 45 degrees centigrade and 75% relative humidity. When you are storing the capsules at this temperature and humidity, that is known as your accelerated storage condition, that is 45 degrees centigrade and 75% relative humidity, that the solubility of that capsules is said to decrease with time. Why? Because you are storing them for a long time, so due to that some reaction might occur which will decrease the solubility. So this solubility which is decreasing, this is due to the formation of a pellicle that slows down the release. So what is pellicle is nothing but cross-linking. This effect is called cross-linking. Gelatin molecules, they sometimes they get cross-linked. So due to that there is a pellicle formation, due to which their solubility will decrease. Okay, so such capsules are said to be stressed capsules because they are stored under accelerated storage conditions. So for such stressed capsules, the US Pharmacopoeia recommends two-tier dissolution test. Two-tier dissolution test means first the dissolution will be performed in the required medium. Okay, so for two-tier dissolution test, first the dissolution is performed in required medium, and if the sample does not comply with the dissolution in required medium, then the test can be repeated by adding enzyme. So pepsin is the enzyme which is used to mimic your simulated gastric fluid. That means it will maintain the pH up to 6.8, and your pancreatic is the one, it will maintain the pH above 6.8. So that is simulated intestinal fluid. So two-tier dissolution testing is meant for the capsules that are cross-linking. So why such cross-linking happens is due to gelatin, because gelatin gets cross-linked, so that results in the formation of pellicle. So that will slow down the drug release. So when gelatin capsules are stored under such accelerated storage conditions such as a 45% 45 degrees centigrade and 75% relative humidity, their solubility decreases with time. So this is due to formation of pellicle, that is slowing down your release, and this effect is known as your cross linking. So for such test capsules, the US Pharmacopoeia recommends 2-tier dissolution test. So first the dissolution is performed in required medium, and if the sample does not comply, then the test can be repeated by adding enzymes such as your pepsin and pancreatin. And as I have told you, cross linking, it can be caused by interaction between gelatin and compounds containing aldehyde groups, okay, or due to reorientation of gelatin molecules. Sometimes the reorientation of gelatin molecules can also cause the cross linking. So this results in pellicle formation that will slow down the drug release. So for such test capsules, you need to do 2-tier dissolution testing. Okay, so this is with your dissolution testing. In the next class, we'll just discuss about solubility and we'll wind up the evaluation test for hard gelatin capsules. Please go through it from Latchman and prepare notes from the video and the textbook, and in case of doubts, let me know.